Hey everybody, my next guest is an award-winning writer and filmmaker who is currently in the process of releasing the first season of her dating podcast, Ace of Hearts, a dating podcast from every perspective. It's going to be on iHeartRadio. Here she is, Maddie Goshorn herself. Maddie, how you doing?
Hey, Don. I'm doing pretty good. Thank you so much for bringing me on today. It's wonderful to meet you.
It's so awesome having you on. I'm looking forward to the podcast, a dating podcast. It sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
So is this like a dating show kind of podcast where you kind of match people up, or is this kind of like a podcast where you just talk about dating, like have guests on and stuff?
Yeah, it'd be so much fun if it was a show, but no, it is just guest interviews. We're just talking about dating from different walks of life. I myself am asexual, so my dating experience isn't really like, not very common on like the Tinder and whatnot. So I just kind of come from a perspective of dating is very different for me, and I thought it'd be so interesting to hear about different people's walks of life and how their own personal identifier, whether it's a mental disability, a physical disability, an age, a religion, whatever, sexual orientation, and how that affects their dating life. So that's what the show's all about.
That's pretty cool. And being asexual, explain what asexual is, just for anyone who doesn't really know. And like, I think I know what asexual is, but I just want to make sure from your perspective that I'm
on the same page. I
page.
totally
Yeah.
get you.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's a part of the plus and the LGBTQ plus. When you're asexual, it essentially means you have little to no sexual desire. I'm just not really attracted to people, or if I am attracted to people, I don't want to fuck them. Oh, sorry, I don't know if you can
No, you can curse. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I don't
Right.
want to have sex with them. It's more like I'm attracted to their personality. So if I say I really like somebody in like a dating sense, I'll just talk on and on about like, oh my gosh, they're so funny and they're so witty and they're just so passionate and they're so kind. And then if someone says like, are they attractive? Like, I don't know, maybe. Like,
So yeah, so you're seeing the inner soul. You're basically looking at people for who they are and how I call it the Kavorka, when you meet somebody instantly and you kind of know whether you like them or not. They say like this kind of wave going through that transmits, where you just are attracted to people that way, or
mm.
a lot of people like if you make them laugh or how you make them feel. Some people are attracted to really smart people, or like my wife loves. I'm just recently married, so I like saying my wife. But anyway, yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. I got but she likes when I do handyman work around the house.
Oh, how fun.
That gets her going. So I gotta start building some more things. But but I understand. I think with the asexual thing, is when you're basically attracted to something deeper or beyond sex. So it's not physical for you.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I love people, but of course that can be kind of a hard dating standpoint because arguably one of the top 5 things people want in a dating relationship is sex for a big population of the world. So it can be a little tough to kind of pitch yourself whenever you're trying to date somebody.
Could an asexual person date and be happy with another asexual person?
Yeah, for sure. At that point it's just like personality and whether you guys like each other.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think sometimes I feel like I'm asexual a lot of times.
Oh yeah?
I'm not always wanting to
Are you
have.
saying you're a sexual like person?
I'm asexual person. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no. I think I understand what you mean. Like, now is there ever times when you get aroused and that you want to have sex, or you completely just shut down?
It's so funny. Like, it's for me personally, like 99% of the times, I'm not like interested in sex at all. And it's almost never at like a human I know. Sometimes, freaking parasocial, like celebrity relationships, like, oh, damn. Freaking Ewan McGregor. Oh, damn. But then again, like, I bet if I met him in person, I'd be like, no, actually, no. Like, this is all in my head. This is all like a fantasy of like, oh man, I bet he'd be great to kiss and stuff. But But yeah, I bet if I met him in person, something about him would be like, no, never mind, I'm good.
So what do you think? Do you think do you think it's overthinking? Because I know that sometimes with me, if I overthink it,
mhm.
then like you said about like Ewan McGregor or something, if you meet somebody like that, and then you start to look at them and you see the flaws or you see things you don't like, and then you kind of talk yourself out of it. Do you think that's a part of it, or?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'll be honest, I've only had sex with one person my entire life, and it was when I was like 24. And it just really wasn't a drive when I was like a teenager and a young adult. Which is why I always felt like a weirdo of like, why aren't I dating people? And it was because I don't like kissing and I don't like the making out stuff. And not to say I'm like this, Aphrodite, but I've definitely made out with like a handful of people, and I've always loved talking about this. I think a peck on the lips is so intimate and trusting. And then in comes the tongue, and I'm just like, oh God, this is gross. Get out. And so for me, like just sex, like following that just doesn't just like, okay, is this done? I don't know. Like and I didn't know I was asexual till I was like 25. Like some people realize it earlier on. The internet's amazing that people can figure that self about
Right.
themselves way early on. I didn't know. So I would just keep dating people, and I just kept feeling like, wow, like this sucks. People say it's not supposed to suck. Like people say this is like great. And so I don't know, maybe I just thought like, do I just think sex overrated? Like I don't know. Like I just had a hard time like kind of figuring it out. So I don't think I'm overthinking it. I think my mind just like doesn't flow very naturally to sex. Like
Right.
it's just like, eh, this is dumb, and just goes elsewhere.
When you were researching it like through your life and trying to figure out why don't I enjoy this or whatever,
Yeah.
did were you relieved when you saw that it's a thing and that there are other asexuals out there and that there's a lot of people that you could relate with?
Yeah, for sure. Cause I'm still a romantic person, I would say. I feel like I've always been a romantic person. So it definitely feels good that like, okay, this is the thing. Like there are a lot of people, maybe not a lot of people, but there are a good handful of people who are on the same page of like, yeah, sex just doesn't really like come naturally and it's just not something I'm into. I know there are quite a few asexuals who still have sex. And that could be for a bunch of different reasons. It could be that particular person they are very attracted to, but like practically nobody else. Or I've heard certain asexuals like only can have sex if there's like a certain kink involved. That's not me. That sort of like draws a little blank in my mind of like, I don't know why that would make a difference, but hey, like I'm not everybody, right? People are so different, and that's kind of what my podcast is all about, is like talking about how every single person has their own unique perspective and reasoning and way of thinking when it comes to dating and love and sometimes sex.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Indeed, I love the concept of your date. It's not just a dating podcast. Not that there's anything wrong with it if it was,
Mm-hmm.
but you're more delving into uh, different kind of genres of dating, or different types of things, like whether it's asexual or pansexual, homosexual, straight, mixed couples, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Christian mingles. Oh, there's all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff.
Yeah. But it's also like just different walks of life. Like, for example, our first season, we have an individual with borderline personality disorder. And so that's very I'm not sure if you know what borderline personality disorder is, but essentially just means like you have wild emotions, like swinging mood swings, and that can very heavily affect your dating relationship. So that was sort of very fun to talk about, of how he has to approach dating and how it involves quite a bit of therapy and quite a bit of self-reflection. But it's not impossible. And I had another individual with like dwarfism, and how dating as a little person, there can be quite a bit of stigma and not everyone's going to get it. So it's not just sexual orientations and gender identity. It's, in my mind, really anything. I'm People are so wildly different, right? As much as we are all like from these different spectrums of political and race and religion and all sorts of different identifiers, we're all still like, we all still want to connect, right? We all still want love. We all still want to find those people we can be emotionally intimate with. And I don't know, I feel like it's just a good way to empathize with people. We can just talk about, hey, how does this affect you looking for love?
No, I think that's I think I love that. I think it's great too, because when I I was married young, right? Then divorced, then was with someone for like a long time. Then I was single for the first time in a
Mm,
long time. I was single for about a 4 year span, and
mm,
I was older. I was in my 40s at the
yeah.
time, in my 50s now. But I was, and so before I met my now wife, Wendy, before I met her, I had 4 years of dating as an older person in my
Mhm.
40s. And then when you date in your 40s, or if you're like, older,
Let me guess,
every,
people assume you have a lot of baggage.
yeah, I think that's what I've noticed. Like everyone I would
Mm,
date comes with a level of baggage, whether they had a bad marriage, abusive marriage, or they have kids that don't like her dating, or there's all these kind of different things that you didn't have to. When I was young dating, I like I had to worry about, this dad gonna like me, right?
yeah.
Or something like that, or is the girl like me? But now it's a whole other kind of thing, and it's also you. There's a fear of getting roped in, and too soon too,
Hmm.
because now you have your guard up more. So I guess think that that's also another thing with dating, and to your point, we're all seeking love, no
Yeah.
matter who you are, what age you are, what everything else. Everybody wants to be. That's the one common thing
Yeah, I
that
think so.
we all want to be loved.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah. A good probably 99.9% of the earth, I think, is on the same page of we want intimacy, either on a physical, emotional, social, like we want to be close to people. The internet can sometimes make it difficult. Oh, okay. Sorry. Hello.
Hey,
That's Pumpernickel.
hey, Pumpernickel.
I
Nice.
didn't even hear her come in. A little sneaky.
Ah, that's great. I love
um
Pumpernickel.
yeah, she's a real big sweetie. Um, what are we talking about? People want to be close. Oh no, yeah, sorry. I think I was saying that I think the internet can make it seem like we're all so different sometimes because it's so easy to be like, oh, you're one of those people from Ohio, so you must think this way. And it's like, well, hold on, we have a lot of similarities. Let's just talk about it. Let's just talk about the threads that pull us together, and try to empathize with people who are different from us. So that's sort of my, like, I guess, mission statement. And pretty much everything I do, including my writing and my filmmaking, is like trying to find some sort of string to hold us all together.
What have you learned, like, from just, I mean, I don't know how many episodes you have in the can so far, but
Yeah.
each person, I assume, when you're talking to the person with dwarfism, you're talking to the whoever, the guy with, like, was it not multiple personalities, was
Borderline personality
borderline
disorder.
personality disorder. When you're talking to these different types of people, what are you learning, as far as being that we all have that common denominator? Like, you must be learning a lot from these people.
Bro, every episode. Every episode I'm learning so much. And it was another reason why I wanted to do this show. I like, for example, the individual with borderline personality disorder. It was so interesting because he talked about how through his therapy and everything he's learned that he can't control his emotions, and his emotions aren't bad, right? Everyone has emotions, but you're very control of your actions through, like, that your emotions that can feel like they spur on. You still have to have the self-control. So even if you're very mad and you feel jealous or you feel neglected, you're still responsible if you go and, like, have sex with someone you're not supposed to, or any sort of the consequences that can bring about. So that was a very cool lesson to kind of hear about. Of, I mean, yeah. Once again, like, as much as he obviously has this very exuberant emotions that he very much has to keep in check, we all can do stupid things spurred on by our emotions. But
That's
we
true.
have to be held accountable, though, of like, hey, I know you're mad. Um, you can't hit somebody just because you're mad. Sorry, my dude. You gotta be
Right,
you
exactly.
gotta work in your own self-control before you do any kind of action. Um I even got to talk with some individuals, one individual who has had the transition. He is a transgender male. And it was so interesting to hear about, like, sometimes dating can almost be, or dating him anyways, it almost felt like people were dating him to seem like cool. or to almost be like a part of a fad. And like that's super crappy. Like this poor guy, he's like genuinely looking for like connection, and these kind of crappy people are just like using him. And so
Like a
it's just
prop.
one,
Yeah.
yeah. So once again, it was just one of those like, hey, as much as you want something, you have to be very aware of like what the other person wants as well, and try to empathize. Of course, you want something. We all want something. But to have that real connection, that real true connection, you have to be wondering and thinking about and communicating what the other person wants as well. So it's been really cool. I really do recommend like everyone kind of chiming in if they can, because every episode I've learned something else. And as much as we are talking about dating and love, so many, sorry, excuse me. Ugh, breakfast is coming back up. I'm super classy. Uh every
That's great.
episode, like but every episode I've learned some sort of like common life lesson, and it's been very cool. And I only have one season right now with iHeart currently scheduled, but if it does well, hopefully they'll extend me, and I want to keep reaching out to people, and I want to keep learning about people from all different walks of life.
Yeah, I think that's great, and it's definitely, I think, very interesting to to hear all the different stories from all different walks of life, and people that are trying to find love, and their trials and tribulations in doing so. I think it's a really smart approach at a dating podcast. Also, what are your thoughts on like all right, how about this? What's the best way to meet someone and start dating? Is it through apps, or what do you think?
That's what I've been asking a lot of the people on my show too, of because a lot of them say that like, well, they do the apps, but almost all of them say the apps suck. So it is kind of funny of like, it feels like a necessary evil. I had one individual who came on my show. He's 70 years old and he's single, and he's still like dating and looking for connection and love, and I love it. And I was asking him like, are you on the apps? And he's like, no, I've never been on the apps. Like it just it's not for me. So he's just very personable. He likes to go to like intimate soirees if you can find him, and that's how he tries to make connections with people. So it's tough, right? You can't really go up to a random person. I mean, I guess you can. You could do whatever you want. But it is a little bit trickier just to come up to people on the street and just say, "You cute." Uh,
Yeah, you always hear those stories about people meeting in like the food shopping and something. I was, or in traffic, or I was never that guy. I was always very shy, and I never really liked the apps, because
Mm,
sometimes with if you do like swipe right, Tinder or Plenty of Fish or any of those, when I was dating back in the day, like I told you, when I was in my early 40s, Plenty of Fish was popular, and
mm.
you're meeting people that they're not really looking for a soul connection. They're just looking for a one night stand, or
Yeah. And if
yeah.
that's what you're looking for, that's fine. But I feel like you should be upfront about it. At least that's my opinion about like the hookup culture is like, just be like, hey, I'm looking for one night of fun. And and everyone's cool with it, then go for it. Right. But if you're not looking for that, that can feel discouraging and like, oh, I'm just a piece of meat.
Have you ever tried the apps? Have you ever did Tinder or any of that kind of stuff?
I've never done Tinder because I know the atmosphere for Tinder is just hookup culture essentially. So I've never really considered it. A couple of my friends have like recommended Bumble or Hinge, and every time I think about it, I get like one step closer. So like one time I was like, I guess it would be nice to go on a date, and then I like download the app, and then while it's downloading, I think I'm really busy. I don't think I have time to go on dates.
You
And then
talk
like the
yourself
next
out of it. Yeah.
yeah, and then like the next time I'm like, maybe it would be nice to go on a date. I'll like make the profile. And then once again, it's like, it's taking a long time to make the profile. I got other stuff I gotta do. Like
I hear you. I was the same way. You're reminding me of my days with Plenty of Fish. Even just sending a message to somebody, or taking it to that next step was always a big, like, oh my God. And pressing send, it was just like, because it's complete strangers you're just reaching out to. You
yeah.
don't know anything about them.
And should it be like job applications where you just like send the same text to everybody? Or should you like do the research and personalize it. I've heard that's better, the personalizing messages rather than just sup, like
Yeah,
dealing out
just
like a deck of cards. Yeah.
accidentally say the wrong name and then
Oh
because
gosh, I'm sure that's happened, right? Like dozens of times. You're copy pasting, and then
oh no, I didn't change the names.
yeah,
Um,
I'm sure that's happened.
what are your thoughts on like speed dating?
Oh, see, that sounds like fun. I mean, I feel like it has sorry, I'm just gonna put my water bottle down. I feel like it has the same air of Tinder half the time, but because you are face to face, that anonymity's gone. I doubt people are gonna be like, oh man, show me your butt or whatever people
Yeah, right.
like as public speed dating. I feel like
Right.
that would be, you know. I feel like speed dating would be fun. I've never myself tried it. I'm not exactly sure where to try. I live in Los Angeles, so I'm not exactly sure where that is, but it has to be somewhere here
You
in
could probably like, yeah,
LA.
I would think you'd find a speed dating somewhere. I've never done it either. I've always kind of wanted to, but just because
Well, now you're married, so I don't
yeah, now
know
that
if
I'm
your missus
married,
will.
but, but, what I liked about dating, I was never comfortable dating. It was always a process for me. It's kind of similar to what you were saying. It's like, oh my God, now I got to get dressed. I got to go out. I got to find a restaurant, whatever it is. But I lost my train of thought there. But like, that's the thing I liked about it was meeting all these different people. And so like if you're dating like once twice a week, you're meeting all these different types of people and learning you know whoever it is. If it's sometimes I would date a 30-something-year-old and then they have a different perspective on life. Then I date somebody my own age and then they got a different perspective of life, or they're from a different place, or financial or whatever it is, and you're just dealing with all these different types of personalities. And I kind of like that part of it,
Mhm.
like just the meeting different people and having in the
Yeah.
conversation side of it. I was always bad at because of my shyness
Mm.
closing the deal.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like me too. I'm really good at just, hey, nice to meet you. And then like closing it of like, we should hang out again. Like that always seems so awkward to kind of like
Right,
force
yeah.
on somebody. Like, I know I just met you and you seem cool, but I like to meet again. But if you don't want to do that, that's fine. I don't want to put any pressure on this. Like it's so easy to like spiral out if you're
When's the last time you went out on a date?
I went on like a blind date January of last year. It was like a mutual friend said we had a really good vibe, or like she thought we would have a good vibe together. And she was right. Like we had a really good, like, he was also very like cheerful and hardworking. But within like 3 dates, it was like, I think this is more of like a really good friendship. And it is. I just saw him a couple of days ago. We went on like a 2 month like trip, like road trip, like last year. He's a really good friend. It wasn't a dating relationship, and that's okay, right? We're both very happy about that. We're both very good friends.
That's cool that you maintain the friendship and you're still hanging out and but like I know you said you're asexual and all that kind of stuff, but um you know do you have the urge to go out on more dates? Do you want to is that something you want to do? Is that maybe like the podcast is kind of priming you up to like say, you know what, I'm gonna do this?
There's like an inner story where I'm getting confidence.
Yeah,
Yeah, gosh,
yeah.
should have thought about that more ahead of time. It honestly, it is like talking to these different people about their dating life. It has kind of gotten me more prompt of like, hey, you know what? Like everyone's walking from different walks, but if we can all find love, like that means I can too. Yeah. But at the same time, I love my alone time. So a good like 75% of the time, I'm totally fine with being alone because I write, because I produce film, because I work on this podcast. So I'm overall very happy on my own. It's just like that 25% of the time of like, kind of would be nice to like have someone to go to on like rough days, and just someone to be like, hey, yeah, like let's just hang out on just a regular basis, or even like just a cuddle on the couch. Like it would be nice, but at the same time, I don't feel the need to like rush into something if it's not like, if we don't click.
Right, exactly. You don't want to force it. And also too, like I know a guy named Steve. I used to work with him. I've known him for years and years since we were like pretty much teenagers. And he's never had a steady person in his life. I don't even know if he ever dates. He might be asexual as well, for all I know. But he's now at the point, he's in his 50s now also. He's at the point where I think a girlfriend would just be an annoyance to him. He'd just be like, oh my, like he would just be like, he's so set in his ways
Yeah.
that he doesn't want to adjust, or he wouldn't want to have somebody like, why did you move this in the, why did you move my, picture over here? I had it over here for 20 years, that kind of thing. So like, I don't know if there's a part of it where if your feet are too deep in the sand where no one's going to be able to budge you.
Yeah. That's quite possible. I mean, I'll be honest, I just turned 30 a couple of months ago,
Hey,
and
happy birthday.
thank you. And yeah, like I've dated a little bit, but it's never really made me like more happy. So I guess part of me is like, I'm happy in here. I'm content. I have some amazing intimate friendships and I love my family. I'm very blessed that I have such a good family that cares about me. And I don't know, most of the time it's like, would it be better to have a partner? Like, I don't know. Like, I think that's the 75% of the time where it's like, I like my alone time. I like just being able to just like close the door and like, I'm gonna go do my own thing. But then again, that's a good relationship, healthy relationship, to be able to have that within your own. I feel like that's it. If I was in a relationship, I would have to be like, hey, I'm gonna have to just like leave you alone for like good chunks of time. And unless you like desperately need me, like an emergency, leave me alone and just let me do my thing.
That's great. That's a great, like, that's a good, I think if you set that up and you could have that, and then, that could work.
Yeah.
You ever
Right?
think of
Communication. That's what it's all about. Gotta talk
exactly,
about what you want. Yeah.
exactly. Who knew? Just communicate. It works so great.
Weird. Why is that? Yeah.
Have you ever thought about kids or any of that kind of stuff, or is that completely off the table?
I can't think about kids. I mean, sorry, I can physically think about kids, but it's not really something I've done a lot of childcare. When I was younger, I used to be a live-in nanny. I've been like a preschool teacher's assistant, and some kids are fantastic and it's so much fun to like see how creative they are and just how much energy they can have, and they could be so fun and silly. But then some days you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta get out of here. And if I and I know if I was a mom, it's like, you can't have that mindset. You can't be like, all right, it's 5 o'clock. See you tomorrow. So that's one part of why I don't know if I'd be a great mom, but also I love, once again, I love my alone time. I know when you have a kid, you don't get a whole lot of alone time, not nearly as much as you
Oh
did
no.
before you had kids. So I at this moment I can't see myself having kids, but that can change. Who knows? I'm only 30, maybe in like 10, 15 years, maybe I'll be like, maybe. And then if I had a partner, I'd be like, let's talk about fostering or adopting. But I don't think I'd ever want to give birth. Like, holy cow, that does not sound like fun at all.
I know. I give all you ladies all the credit in the world of being
All the
able to
birthing
carry
ladies out
all
there.
the
Yeah.
birthing ladies. Just the fact of carrying for 9 months and then the delivery. I've seen it 5 times. 5 kids. I was there for all five.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing, but it's also something that I don't know how.
Yeah. How's your alone time been since you've had 5 kids?
Well, now I'm kind of empty nesting a little bit. So
Oh, okay.
my youngest is now 16. My
Oh, okay.
oldest, I have a 32-year-old, a 31-year-old, because I started
Mm,
young. I started having kids when I
gotcha.
was 19,
Wow,
and
that's pretty early.
yeah, I should have been
Had to get a
asexual
head
when I was in
start.
high
Yeah.
school. I came out the gate fast,
Yeah, you
but
matured real quick.
yeah. And then then we got married. Now, so I was married, divorced, and 2 kids by the time I was 24. And then
Wow.
and then got right into another relationship right after that, and then had 3 more kids. So with another woman who I never married,
Mm,
and then that lasted 15 years, and then had a little break, about 4 or 5 years for about four, and then met Wendy, dated for 10 years, and then just got married on our 10-year anniversary. So
Wow.
yeah, so it's pretty crazy. You never know what life's going to bring you, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Life does not give you any consistency. You never know who you're gonna meet, what opportunities are gonna fall in your lap, or worse, what tragedies or global pandemics are gonna fall on your lap. Yeah,
Exactly.
you can't predict anything. So you never know what's gonna happen, and you gotta be flexible with it. So yeah, who knows what's gonna happen in the future? Maybe I will find someone who I'm just like, that's my buddy. And like I'll get married, who knows? And then maybe one day I'll be like, oh, I want to be a mom so bad. I have no idea, right? Like to say I will never just kind of seems like you're tempting fate of like
Right,
this.
right.
It's gonna be like, oh yeah, come at me, bro.
Yeah, never say never, and you never want to challenge the powers that be, because
Yeah.
they're always listening.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know if you believe in like a god or fate or the universe or just cosmic energy, but I kind of believe in like there is some kind of flow that just feels like it just pushes us into like whatever was meant to happen.
for sure, for sure. I believe in
Yeah.
all the above pretty much. And
Yeah.
and yeah, I don't think there's coincidences and things like that. I think it's all kismet. I think everything is kind of meant to be the way you write it out, and then the choices you make decide your fate,
Yeah.
essentially. And that has a lot to do with, that goes back to dating, the choices that you make, the choices of who you decide to date, or how your approach is, and all that kind of stuff. um and I think this is awesome what you're doing. And it's the Ace of Hearts, a dating podcast from every perspective, which that's
Yeah.
the huge part for me, is every
Yeah.
perspective. And I think it's
Everybody.
also helping you with your journey through life as you get to interview all these different types of people, these different perspectives on things, kind of helps center you a little bit too. And I think people listening.
Yeah. I hope so. I really hope if people have an open mind and open ears that they can hear from other people's perspectives. Hopefully it'll just I'm just like how I'm learning from all these different people from the horse's mouth of all these different people in their walks of life. I hope other people can have the same thing of like, wow, yeah, I never really considered what it was like dating as a little person or being polyamorous or whatever else. And who knows, maybe it'll open people's hearts and maybe they'll, I don't know, treat other people nicer and more openly. And who knows? One can hope, I suppose, of what happens.
There you go. This is awesome. Now, before I let you go, I do want to ask you some of Don's random questions here.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. So you can take your time answering these. It's not like a speed round or something. Just going to be random questions.
Yeah.
Um, so the first one, who is the funniest comedian of all time?
Of all time? Oh, man. Uh, my first thought was Pete Holmes. Do you know that guy?
Oh yeah, he's great.
Oh, you know him personally?
I don't
Or
know
no,
him
just
personally. Yeah, I know his show he did, and his he had a talk show, he had a sketch show, and then he had the show on HBO. Yeah, he's a great stand-up.
yeah, he seems so funny and once again so positive and just always has a big smile. I once again, there's so many good comedians out there. That was just the first guy that popped into my brain.
um, who is your dream date? Do you have a dream date?
Oh man, that's so tough for me. I mean, if we're talking like fantasy, right? Like a date on the moon or whatever. Um, sorry, do you hear that too? The audio being weird?
No,
No?
no, you sound good to me.
It's gotta be my headphones. Sorry, it's acting funky.
Okay.
Sorry about that. If we're talking like a dream, are you talking like a date as in like sitting down watching movies, or are you talking like the person on your date?
I think when you said on the moon, I kind of started to like that whole thing, like the whole setting
Yeah,
of what would the dream date be like if you're on the moon with like,
a
Ewan
picnic.
McGregor or something. Yeah, you're having like a picnic on the moon with
Should have put on your little
Obi-Wan
mask.
Kenobi.
Yeah. That'd be incredible. No, I mean, I think for real though, my favorite idea of a dream date would be like you see an oncoming thunderstorm and you just kind of get in your car, you try to go to a more like isolated place, and you just like let the rain kind of fall on the car, maybe play some music and just have some really good conversations. That to me sounds like a perfect dream date.
Awesome, very
Yeah.
cool. What's the best rom-com ever?
Um, I really like serendipity. I think once again, like getting out there, meeting people, like, and it just all falling into order. It all just kind of follows into this like fate. I just really like that romantic idea.
Maddie, thanks again for taking time to talk to me. Tell everybody where they could find you, follow you, and watch the show Ace of Hearts. Tell everybody all your information.
Yeah. So the show is gonna come out mid-August. And when it is out, Ace of Hearts, a dating podcast from every perspective, it's gonna be on the iHeart app. It's gonna be on Apple, Spotify, Podbean, Google Podcasts, like pretty much anywhere the major podcasts are. You can find it. And I'm gonna be posting a lot about it on my like Instagram, which is MADDOG_Goshorn.
Nice.
Or my Facebook, which is just my name, or Twitter, which once again is just my name, Maddie Goshorn. So I'll pretty much any of those you can come and find me. I talk about my short films. I talk about this podcast. I'm sure I'll talk about whatever the heck I'm doing next. Yeah, there
Awesome.
you go.
Well, you're the best. Best of luck with this podcast. I've been telling you throughout the whole thing, the whole interview today, is that I love what you're doing. I think it's great. I love the idea of it being every perspective. I think there's a lot you can learn, and you know, when I say you can learn, not only you but also everyone listening can learn from this. And yeah, because we all want love.
We do.
You know, and I think that's a great thing. So keep on keeping on. Ace of Hearts, a dating podcast from every perspective. Maddie Goshorn, thank you so much.
Thanks, Don.